Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Thomas Aast, and I will be your organizer and host for this session. Today's presentation will be delivered by Jesper, Jesper Sørensen, our Senior Product Manager for PAGA Solutions. Questions can be submitted at any time using the Q&A panel, and we will address them towards the end of the session. This webinar is being recorded, and the full recording will be shared afterwards through our regular newsletter. So with that said, I will just hand over now to Jesper.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, for that presentation or introduction. Good. So today's topic is PAGA and MED, the Maritime Equipment Directive. So, a little of me first. My name is Jesper Sørensen, as Thomas said. I'm in the product management team here in our offshore department, and I have the PAGA as my primary product range here. The agenda for today is we go through the steps here. We talk a little about what is the MED, what is the Maritime Equipment Directive here. I will talk a little about the PAGA standard, some highlights of the content within this one, and here some common information for the PAGA towards the certificates, priorities mainly related to the microphones panels, and also some topics about the fire detection system here. After that, we go into some detailing for the SPA MED, and afterwards the Exigo MED, and in the end, the MED speakers. After the run through here, we will have some time for some Q&A in the end of our webinar of today. Yeah. But first thing first, the MED, the directive, some references to talk about. What is it and where does it come from, and why do we have different numbers here? As a first, the directive itself is this one up here, 2014 90-EU. That one is the directive itself, and is really not pointing towards what are we to follow and how to comply to that one. To help us with that, we have the implementing regulation. In the implementing regulation, we have the set of rules that we are to comply to for the PAGA systems and the PAGA loudspeakers. This implementing regulation is, as we speak today, called EU 2025-1533. As you can see over here, this is coming on a yearly basis with updates. So just the former one was called this one here, 2024-1975, and now we have this one here as the most recent. The implementing regulation is not just for the PAGA, that is for all of the maritime equipment to comply to the MED directive. If we look into this one here, a few sections that would be good to know, that would be for the PAGA system section called 144A, and for the speakers to use here in the PAGA is 144B. And why this? It's much related to the SOLAS and to enhance the safety at sea here. This is towards EU vessels and the EEA countries here. Yeah. This is where the scope is mandatory for. With this implementation of the PAGA in the directive of MED, that is not something that was before, but it was first introduced or listed up in the 2022 implementing regulation, and it is like with every other new standards coming into force, there's a transition period to be able to adapt your products towards new standards, new requirements, and to come with your compliance until a certain date. That certain date is this year, August 15, where when you are placing equipment on vessels afterwards, you need to have this whenever it's within where the MET is mandatory. Looking a little more into the implementing regulation, here's just a cutout for our section here, but this implementing regulation, as said, is not just for the PAGA. This will have all kind of equipment, life jacket, fire hoses, fire alarm devices that we also come a little into, and then now also a section for the PAGA. For the 144A section, here's an example how such would look like. It says this for the public address and general alarm systems, thus the PAGA. It says for the types of ships that are defined within this, that is the cargo, the passenger ships, and passenger ships, including SRTP. For those ships, we have defined 3 types of systems. That is the pure GA, the PA only, and then the PAGA systems, where both are integrated. When we find that we are in the scope of this section here, which we are for our PAGA systems, we have here in the right column the new rules or the new standards we are to follow here. As before, we have had the type approval systems towards the SOLAS LSA and INO, but when we are here with the MED, we are pointing towards EN standards or European norms standards and not different societies here. In the first row, we have one called EN 6995, sorry. That is the PAGA standard. I'll come into detail with the content of this one. The next one in the line is the 6945. That is for us in the offshore a very known standard. We often have tested our products towards this standard. This standard is for the environmental testing. That includes EMC and the environmental parts with vibration, temperatures, and such to see that the equipment you place on board is actually able to withstand the circumstances here. The next ones here are new for our business here with the PAGA, at least for some of our products here. That is standards towards some data communication. We also have one here, 628A. How is the layout of our products, and here in the end also some new standards, that is the bridge alert management, that is also to comply to. The reasoning that those here are listed here for the requirements is that those are part of the first line here, those are part of the PAGA standard. So to be a member of the MED with our products here, we have to comply to those rules here and test it towards before we can have a new MED certificate. When it comes to the certificates, we do have a few differences here. We are talking both MED-B, MED-D, and the same too with the MER, the MER-B and the MER-D. The differences here between the B and the D comes in. The B is the product certificate. The process here to get our products approved towards the MED is that first we need to obtain the MED-B, that is to provide update the products, provide function test and audits with the class that now our products is actually complying to the requirements given in the mentioned standards. Then at that point, we are obtaining the product certificate, the B type. For the D type, we will get afterwards when we are to get our production facilities audited as well, because we cannot deliver MED products without also have production facilities that are having this MED-D certificate. So we will need both of those whenever we are talking about this MED area. As we see here, I also are highlighting or mentioning the MEA B and D. Those are for the UK, as they have left the EU. They want also to kind of be part of this. They have their own certification, their own notified bodies, and also then call it MER rather than MED. The differences is a new set of certificates that we need to obtain for that area. The requirements and regulations are the very same as for the MED part up here, but we need to have the processes of also getting those certificates. Once this is done, we will have these yearly audits, and that will be both here on our premises here for the product itself, but also a yearly audit for all the listed MED, the production facilities that we will get listed in our certificates. So this is what's need to, let's say, be obtained, but also kept maintained in the way forward here. With those with those certificates, we are able to label our products with two very key figures here, or icons, and that is what we have here in the corner of this example. We have a wheel mark here that is for the MED, and below there will be a year and a number for the notified body. The next one here, or the one to the left of the wheel mark, that is what we call a Union Jack icon here. This is for the MER. Also here with a year and a other notified body, a notified body in the UK. With both those placed on the products here, meaning that we do have the certificates for both, and we are able to place those products both in the EU but also in the UK. Also highlighted here, the supply and the compass safe distance need to be on that one as well. As it is with those PAGA systems, when we come to the panels, those will be from the shelf here labeled with this MED, but when it comes to the systems, it will be on a system level. When it's final assembly, we will put a wheel mark label onto the final cabinet here, according to the MED here, but for the notified body, they're very keen on that. Here we need to have the assembly of the system to secure that the assembled products is according to the rules. And those have to do with setting up with the correct priorities, interfaces, and such. Once we have done this part here, together with this delivery, we have to follow a few more things required by the MED, and that is towards the documentation of this. To the left side here, we have a QR. If you scan that one, you will get a direct link to our Zenitel.com for the system technical manual whenever it's for the cabinets. If you open the box for one of our panels here, you will see a QR for the user manual of this. So we need to have with the delivery some physical link or documentation towards the product we are delivering here. The other part here to the right is that we are also to deliver for the systems or for the products a DOC. In this DOC, you will see what is the product type, what is a batch number here. That will be a unique number or batch number for a certain size of production. In the midsection here, we will actually see the implementing regulations as I just spoke about on previous pages. For this DOC and the implementing regulation, they are updating those once a year. Unfortunately, not at the same time. So often we'll see that we will update those DOCs for the MED part here, the first line, right after the summer, often in August, September. And for the MER part, they are also updating They are implementing regulation and often the beginning of a new year. So why do we update the DOC? We need to update it to be pointing towards the latest and released implementing regulations. It is with these implementing regulations that you only have one valid one. So whenever there come a new one, we need to go in, check our section for the PAGA part here. We need to go in and check for the 144A. Have there been any changes to our section? Here are the new standards or an updated standard of the existing ones that we need to investigate and control that we are compliant to that one as well, or do we need to do some new things and considerations? Regardless of we are to do something here or not, we need to point towards the latest and greatest at all times. So the previous one will be repealed with the next one. So what we will see for these deliveries that we are actually coming with DOC or for the products we are delivering to you, that will be with new numbers here a few times a year. So that's the reasoning behind that one here. What we're also highlighting here is what have we tested towards, and here in the bottom section, we will have the references to our MED B, D, MER B and D certificates that the product is certified towards. So this is really listing latest implementing regulations, and also that you have here the reference to the certificates, so you can see at which time, at which point, and also with the badge up here, also we have some more traceability. So that was the MED. A very briefly introduction to that one, but that is where you can say from where do all the requirements and regulations come. In the top line, we saw this one here, EN 5695, the PAGA standard. I say here, new first standard introduced, and that is from before this standard, with ever we did type approval towards the different notified bodies, it was towards their own regulation, their own text, and those texts were a reference towards the IMO, the LSA, and SOLAS and such. So different notified bodies had their own documents, but were really pointing towards the same text behind of that one. For this PAGA standard, on a high level, what is the content of this and the structure in this one? I try to illustrate it like this to keep it on a decent level here. But the first one here is, as a first, it really are still pointing towards the SOLAS IMA and the LSA code for the functioning of what we had before also. What we have in this section is the code of alerts. How should the GA sound? How should the priorities be for the GA, for the emergency PA? Securing that you have redundant panels, or that your system is capable of connecting 2 or more panels to stay with all what we have from before here for the MED and before the PAGA standard. That was the good exercises in this one here. So that has remained and been kept. Next to this is that our MED products need to be tested towards the EN 6945. And here you may think that, yeah, but that was like that before as well. True, especially for Zenitel, but before MED, you were actually able also to have a type approval tested towards only IAX E10 maybe, or if, for an example, DNV, they had their own test requirements as well. But for the MED, it needs to be towards this standard. That is a little more strict when it comes to some of the environmental parts, for example. Next to this one here, we have this BAM standard, or the Bridge Alert Management Standard, and that is influencing how is the system behaving and how is the system communicating towards some central equipment to have some common sentences in that direction. The last one here, as one of the highlights for the PAGA standard, I would like to highlight here is the performance test, or the criteria for the audio. Because from the past, when we look at this one here, and actually also the environmental testing, it has been all about how is the equipment capable of withstanding environments it's placed in, the temperatures, cope with that, and also for over here, how is it sounding, how are the priorities and the functions of these systems. But there were no testing towards the audio itself. So in the PAGA standard, it's also now defined how to test the output of your amplifier at plus 55 degrees. Harder requirements here with a 1 kilohertz sine tone here to withstand either for 10 minutes for cargo or 30 minutes for a passenger vessel. Together with this, also requirements to frequency response, signal to noise ratio, and some THD. And that is, let's say, as a first, that part has actually been introduced. With that part in the PAGA standard, we will also, let's say, have a more equal way across different manufacturers to state what is the output here, and RMS output, to say that with this RMS, this can withstand the circumstances on the vessel in the worst case conditions. Okay. Then towards the certificates and the MET and the type approval of before. What I say here is that we also have the IMO, we have the type approval before, and now with the MET, we have some more requirements. What was for the past here, that DNV, we used to also give us audit towards the DNV to have the MET certificates here. At the beginning of this one, stated that they were not renewing our type approvals as we have a new standard here. And that part has made some confusion outside of the EU and also for the flag stats. But in the very end, it was meant to be that the MET certificates to be accepted as equivalent to the type approval. An update towards this, that is, let's say, not too old, that is, they have changed their approach here when it comes to talking about DNV. They are now opening up to possibility to type the type approval to be renewed as we had them before. Two reasoning for do this is that what have you already quoted and what have you already delivered to be delivered. That gave some good deal of confusion towards what to do. The surveyor not too sure about how to deal with this part, and the MED certificates pointing towards a new range of equipment and not necessarily all the old ones as well. So this part here, Zenitel is in the process of the renewal towards DNV. For the other class, we have a type approval bit already. They did not have the same end date as DNV here. So we also have other notified bodies, other class that we still have valid certificates, the old type approval, as we should say it like that. Yeah. Good. The priority of the systems for the PAGA, this I'm showing here now is not exactly new, but I like to put it up here in this presentation also to just settle once more or twice more that those are the priorities we need to comply to. has been like that, but there has been some different takes on what is emergency PA, what is normal PA or non-emergency PA, to say it like that. We have the priorities from 1 to 5 here. Emergency PA is the absolutely number one priority here. Next to this is the general emergency alarm, the GA. We can have other emergency alarms that can be defined in the muster list. And then we have the priority 4, and not until priority 4, we have what we are calling any other information distribution. That is normal PA distribution, normal broadcasting. It can be from other sources like the PABX or what else we have here as information, not to take priority over the alarms, at least. For the 5th priority here, entertainment, if we should have any such. The lower part here is a part from the PAGA standard to emphasize how are we thinking the priorities should be when we are talking about the PA panels and also the relationship between each other. This part might not have been, let's say, entirely clear in the text from before we had this listed in the PAGA standard. On the navigation bridge, the highest priority when it comes to emergency PA, you also need to have a second PA panel somewhere else. Could be at the muster station or the ECR, but that will have a second priority. For the normal PA, the non-emergency part, you will again have priority on the navigation bridge compared to the other mandatory panel you also need to have installed on the vessel as a minimum. So that is the relation between the panels, and also how should the navigation bridge or the panel on the bridge always take the lead when it comes to priorities of either or whether it's emergency PA or it's any other information. For the Med, we have had some discussions about the fire detection system. And along with the MED, we also got some restrictions towards this part here. In the past, we have had a lot of installation where we were also distributing the fire alarm. That with the MED, we are not allowed to do any longer. And that has something to do with the text in the implementing regulation, and where in here they are pointing towards other parts of that, the MED, to be allowed to do so. This means that we have been doing some more interfacing and securing that this part with the fire detection system, that it's getting the correct priority in between our PAGA priorities. And here to the right, I have listed it here on priority 3, and just to highlight that, the emergency PA in our GA will always take the priority of the FDS and other things. But to secure this part here, we needed the signals, the muting signals in and out of the systems to be able to also be muted. So the exercise is to mute whatever is of lower priority, also for the external systems, but also to be muted whenever some of this external, like the fire detection system here, is sounding, and we are to be muted by the lower priorities here. The past month, we have some exercises that had led to, let's say, some additional visual drawings or examples of this one here. So for PAGA here with the external FDS, the fire detection system, we see here that for our top ones here, emergency PA and the GA, we are to provide a signal outbound, muting signal to that system here, so that we can hear our GA signal or be heard when we are to broadcast some emergency PA here. As said, we are also the one to be muted, and that is when this one is active and sounding, securing that we are not disturbing that distribution with any of the other lower priorities here from the PAGA system. Another example here, just a brief one. If you have the PA system only here, you have the PA, emergency PA as the only one to mute, but here for the external system, that would be both the GA and the FDS to mute the remaining of the standalone PA system over here. Last example of this muting in and out here is for the GA being muted here, but you are also again muting the other parts of the external systems here. Those are just in one big gray box here, but would just as well also be two different external systems, not a PA including the FDS necessarily. Yeah. Good. Then for the SPARMED. With all these regulations and standards and new requirements, what have been the exercise for the SPAR? Sorry about that. For the SPAR V2 MED, the main changes here, we had to do some changes for the panels. For those of you knowing the SPAR system well, you know it's all about physical buttons and no configuration of those as such. So what we need to do was update to the panels. We also have some towards the bridge alert management here, something with the coloring from, especially for the alarms and how to do with those. We also have a new panel introduced, PSP1. We'll come into that one as well, and COM interface, the data communication interface towards the central alerts management. The last one here, a new terminal board. It does not necessarily look like entirely new, but we had to do some updates towards that one as well. Here the overview of our SPAR system, and wherever I have a little blue dot here is where we have touched the equipment and had some updates to do, and also two new things here. One was the COM interface, and the other one was this panel up here. For the main unit here, and when I say that we have updates towards this one, we have those parts with the performance testing of the amplifiers to be able to, let's say, put in a measure of how we'll do under those circumstances. For the terminal board we have in here as well, and say we have a new terminal board, is updates towards make the central part here able to have short circuits and open circuits towards external interfacing, and not to influence the remaining of the system. That sounds maybe a little strange, but some parts of the PAGA standard are now defining how each of the external interfaces shall be short circuit tested, be tested for an open circuit, and as well as a ground fault test. That meant that if we, for example, have audio output for the VDR as short circuit towards the VDR, that will naturally cause that you will have no audio towards that one. You have shortened the audio line, but you also need to secure that shorten the audio line is not influencing that you can still broadcast a message in the remaining of the system. So there have been some updates to the board here to secure that it's much more stronger towards that part, and the influence of such scenarios will not influence the system. Together with the system and the other parts here and the updates, I will go into those details. What I highlighted here is that you need to take care of the fire alarm exchange here, or the fire detection system, as I just called it on previous slide, that this is a big change for our normal deliveries. For the MED And to say that how do we as minimum comply towards the MET and the PAGA standard, it's defined within the PAGA standard that we need to bring up, let's say, an overview of what is the minimum configuration. This does not mean, of course, that we cannot add more to the system delivery, but at least we are to provide, let's say, now for the SPA, a list like this one here, so we can see as a minimum for the 2 types of vessels we have for the SPA and the 3 types of systems for each of those, what is the minimum configuration to obtain the requirement or to comply to what's given in that one here. For the SPA system, consisting of terminal boards and function boards, each function have a circuit board. This can be a little difficult from this list to judge with these spirals where they actually be used or be connected to and such. And for that, recently we have come up with some updated drawings from our project team for the different types here, with examples for in both PDF and DVG, and we can also see how is it actually placed and connected to have the interfaces towards, for example, the FDS, and also how to be muted and place that and where to actually put this in the SPA system onto the terminal board, so we will achieve these priorities correctly and also having those signals that we need to for the compliancy. For the panels in the SPA system, we have a few updates here as well. A requirement in the PAGA standard is that our access panel have a lamp test button now. And with the SPA panels means we need to add another button, and you will see here now we will have this here for the lamp test. We also had some things with the coloring, and also for the outdoor panel here in the past we have a green button for the GA where they have been corrected to be red on those here. When it comes to the SPA system on the SPA and the PA panel operation, the MET systems and the MET installation has caused some, let's say, round of discussions and clarifications. What is actually what here? We have the priority list with the emergency PA listed, and then also on the priority for any other information distribution. What I would like to bring up here is the differences in the SPA system between the talk button here, the PTT here, and the emergency PA button we have placed here on the AC6 panel. There is a difference between those. So for example of PA only system, if this panel should have the highest priority, does not mean that pressing this talk button here is the same as pressing the emergency PA talk button out here. The reason we need to have both, or at least we need to have this one here in the very minimum config, is towards those muting signals in and out of the system, to be able to actually differentiate between, is this emergency PA to have the signaling, or is this just normal PA and not have the signal out towards, for example, the FDS. An example that was brought up towards this is that we will have the 2 panels as a minimum towards the regulations, where we have the emergency PA buttons next to those panels. When we have this, we are able to have this the signaling that is going out to the system with the lower priorities, and also be able to come in from the external systems towards the remaining panels we have in the system. Yeah. So that's the main reason here. For up here, with the lamp test, we do not add a lamp test button on the AC6 panel. As it was before, we also have the dimmer button on this one that also dimming the AC6. That means need to take care of the connection and the connection drawings we have between the panels, the interconnection here between the M panel towards the AC6. This was just the first 4 here, 5 here, 4 here, sorry. But now we also need to secure that we also have the lamp test in between here. So take care of this when you do your engineering. Then we have this new panel here, we call the PSP, Power Surveillance Panel. This is a requirement that also was brought up in within the PAGA. It actually was related to some of the textbook code of alerts that we are to, let's say, indicate if we have some power failure. In the past, this has been done with a failure interface, a closing contact, and then trusted some external system to, let's say, signal that one for this part here. But in the PAGA standard, it's now a requirement that for our PAGA delivery, whenever it's come towards GA and PAGA systems, that we also are providing this panel to indicate if we have a total power loss here. What it does is that if you have A/B systems connected towards this, it will be connected towards the central equipment, the power source or power from that. It will just light up a LED here if you have, let's say, no power in one of the systems. If it comes to that you have both systems without power, thus malfunctioning, it will indicate this one here, and this over here is a buzzer sounding. So it will come with some bips, and the requirement for this one is that with no power towards this, you need to maintain the LED powered here and the buzzer beeping for a period of 30 minutes. The 30 minutes is stated for, let's say, as part of the requirement here. What you can do is place an acknowledge towards this one. It will stay light up here for the power failure, but you have placed an acknowledge that you are muting the audible sound. Showing here the connection towards this one, we have a connector with supplying it with 24 VDC for the systems, and that is what it's using to do this part here. To keep alive for a period of 30 minutes, there is no maintenance with this one here. There is a fairly large capacitor mounted on the product that will secure that it will sound for a minimum of 30 minutes. So it's to be installed, but no maintenance, no batteries to consider. When it comes to our alarm generator, we have done some updates towards this one, now call it EE4. The main reason we had an update here was that we need to have this COM interface for the MID. With this COM interface, we have data communication from our system telling the central alert management system when have some keep alive signals in between, but also it needs to send some sentences when the GA is sounding. So that we have done on this part here. Together with this one, we also got a USB connector to be able to do some on-site modification of the sound itself. Not related to MED, but to make a little enhancement towards the alarm generator. So the COM interface for 485, and here we have the parameters how to communicate with this one here. Together with EE4, we also have this configuration tool. So from before, where you need to have some hard-coded changes to the hex of that one, you can now plug in a USB and do some on-site changes if that is needed. Okay. Going forward, we have the Exigo Med as well. A few highlights from here. We also have some parts with the coloring of the panels. What comes again here is the power panel and the COM interface, where we are using what we develop for the SPA to be generic products here. Like with the SPA, we also for the Exigo need to put up, let's say, a sheet for a minimum configuration. Those of you that have seen the former one for the SPA, also like this one here in the very early ones, we also have a requirement for this COM interface for the PA, but we have had some updates on discussions with the notified body that don't need to have it whenever it's PA only. For the Exigo panels, the coloring, we had to do some changes. We did use some red coloring independently of the function and the use of this one. Within the mat, we cannot do that anymore. So what we have of updates here is for the panels like it look fairly similar of today, but we have changed the core button here from a red to a blue. On the right side here, we have a couple of panels that are blue in the second LED rather than the previous red one here. And as defined here, we need to define those function buttons here to be for alarms, and for the blue ones here will be for the zone selection, the emergency PA, pre-recorded messages, and any other functions we have here. Now, as we are configuring all these buttons, what I say up here, remember the lamp test button. So here we do not have, let's say, a dedicated button like we do on the SPA panel, but we still need to remember the requirement to have such. So you need to configure one button in the Exigo to provide a lamp test of the panel buttons here and LEDs. For the GA, when that is activated, there's a certain pattern that need to be flashing in a certain pattern, say it like that. And that for the EMT tool, we will have some new areas where we will have like here that this is a GA LED, or this is for the GA to be having this pattern and this pulsing that is required in here. Good. Here I have it in the presentation just to say that the power surveillance panel here is also to be used within the Exigo in the same way as we have for the SPA. So it is in the same section. For the COM interface, it's also the use of our EE4 to have this communication towards the central alert management system. But what we have done here is coming up in a new article of the shelf. This is normally for the mounting of the ICX, the Exigo controller. But here in between, we have made the EE4 playset with a connector on the back. So you don't have to consider how to mount it and how to do with this wiring. So here from the back, you see the EE4 placed here. We have a Phoenix connector where you can just connect the COM here and also the power. And what we need from the Exigo system is an I/O to tell this board here that the GA is activated. The board and communication itself is the same. So that's hard-coded. And when it comes to Exigo articles, it's not like for the SPA we have a complete new section, but here I'm just listing the new panels here with the new coloring. Also, what you will see in the price list is this COM interface, the power surveillance panel, and also when you are requesting an Exigo Med system, we also have this one to secure that you will have the documentation and the marking towards the Med. For the Med speakers, few slides left. I'm looking at Thomas.
If you have any questions, you could add them in the Q&A section. I see we don't have any questions. If you do have any questions, please speak to me now so we have time to answer them before we end.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Thomas. A few slides left and then we will have the Q&A session. So, yeah. Okay, the med speakers. We are having our own speakers, and what we have now is our ceiling speakers. The first listed here, including this one for the bathroom. We do have the med onto this one as of now. I have marked the next two, our VLS horn speakers, red. They are in process. So things are coming here. The reason I just highlight those is that some have seen that we also actually have the Med B certificate of those in place. That is correct. We have that, but we are still in the process to also have the manufacturer getting the certificate to be able to actually have some deliveries of those, and that is the part with the both. We need the Med B and the Med D for these. For our speakers here, they're all called Med, but for those we have listed here, we will provide both a Med and a MER certificate of those. Yeah. Along with our loudspeaker range, we also have some from DNAs, and that is especially towards the EX horn speakers that we do not provide up here, where we need those. Talking about the speakers and the fire alarm, say we cannot do that anymore, and here I actually have the section here for 144B for PAGA speakers, and here states that when used as fire alarm device, and other item in the implementing regulation shall comply or shall apply. And that means we don't have that for our PAGA speaker, and thus the notified bodies say you cannot distribute the fire alarm. Yeah. What is stated here in the 353 is that then you also need to comply to an EN54 standard here, which we do not, and that is towards fire alarm devices. And with that said, Thomas, I look at the clock, but we come to this part here with the Q&A to have some time for that one as well.
Yes.